This is the Paltalk News Network.
The views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of Paltalk.com, AVM software, or its advertisers.
News Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of Paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users, on demand on iTunes and on YouTube, and on my blog, GaryBaumgarten.com, where you're encouraged to post your comments, whether you agree with yours truly or not, no retribution. And thanks to our good friends at CRN Digital Talk Radio, we're syndicated to an additional 12 million households. I am your host, Gary Baumgarten. I welcome you to the show. In just a couple minutes, these two seats will be occupied, hopefully, by two lovely ladies that are going to tell us about a very interesting program, the likes of which I've never heard of before, and I asked them to come in special for this. But they had trouble with traffic here in Lower Manhattan, and then when they got down here by the building, they couldn't find a good place to, well, you don't park a horse. What do you, Cassandra, what do you call it when you, when you tether a horse?
Tethering.
Isn't there a term when you go to park your horse and put it in park and lock the door and all that? What do you call that? I mean, when you put the...
When you'd stable it.
No, not stable it. You know how they used to ride up to the bar and tie the horse up and walk into the bar and...
You hang it up, don't you?
Give me a sarsaparilla. Huh? What's that?
I said you hang it up, don't you?
What is it called? Seriously, what is it called when you tether? I know, I see they're here. Come on in. What is it called when you tether your horse? Hitching the horse. Thank you. Well, these two lovely ladies were having trouble finding a place to hitch their horse. We're going to actually file a complaint with Mayor Michael Bloomberg, because not only do they not have enough bike racks, they don't have enough hitching posts out here for the horses. I know you forever, and we've never met.
I know. Very nice to meet you,
Good
Gary.
to meet you, too. Okay, well, to my right, your left, are my two guests, Christianna, I had it right the first time, Capra, and Dr. Maria Karavidas. And they actually kind of wrote, I can't say a Karavidas? I'm a Baumgarten. I'm very sensitive to people not being able to pronounce my name. Believe it or not, they believe that they have the answer to all of society's problems. And they know how to rein it in. And they're hoping that you will just gallop out and buy a book that will tell you how to do it. Is that right?
Well, there is a book out, but it's not really about this work. It was auspiciously released around the time that we launched this program.
Oh.
The book is a compilation of stories. It's called Horses with a Mission, Extraordinary True Stories of Equine Service. And so I had entered a contest telling my story of how one of my horses led me to my passionate purpose in life. And so that book is out. It was released in September by Alan and Linda Anderson, and it's available everywhere. But essentially, it's a nice lead-in to what we're doing. We started a program called Spring Rains of Hope, Getting to the Horse of the Matter. And essentially, it's a groundbreaking program that's using horses in a little bit different way to help people heal, psychotherapy, and also learning. We offer life skills and corporate coaching and stuff like that.
Now, Maria, you're not a veterinarian.
That's right. I'm not a veterinarian.
You're a psychologist.
That's right.
So tell me how, if I'm freaked out about, I don't know, 9/11, I have to look out the window every day and see the pit, and that can freak you out actually. How a horse can help me get over my my concerns.
Your trauma recovery?
My trauma recovery.
Why horses for something like that versus more conventional psychotherapy? there's without minimizing the advantages of a traditional psychotherapy for, say, post-traumatic stress disorder, I think the added advantage of working with horses to overcome these kind of issues is that the sheer size and power of a horse can be fear-evoking for many people. And a metaphor for that and overcoming that in an arena can translate to the fears that they have about 9/11, looking at the pit, or getting into a train, a subway every day, having to go back into the city, or whatever it is. And I think that's the added value of the horse. In the moment, in the present, they can overcome that. And when you have a 1,000-pound animal coming at you, and you can kind of handle that, imagine the possibilities of what else you can, handle and overcome in your life. What other
I've got a great video which I actually didn't think to set up for today about some horses coming over to visit me. I went over to the side of the road, and every horse, I guess maybe people stop and hand them apples or sugar or whatever they're not supposed to probably give them. And so they came over, and for some reason, one of them really liked my jacket and decided to munch on it while I was wearing it, So if I could get through that. Actually, I've never been in a situation where horses were used to help people with psychological problems, but back in Michigan, I was involved in a program where physically handicapped children were brought out to the stables, and we would put them up on the horse, and I was one of the people who would, kind of guide them along and that kind of stuff. And I got more out of it than they did, just to see their faces light up over, the opportunity to ride the horse. Some of them could hardly walk, or maybe couldn't walk, and yet they were able to ride those horses.
Yes, you bring up actually it's one of the ways that I use to explain this work is in the 50s, therapeutic riding, which is what you're talking about, was developed for people with physical and mental disabilities, so paralysis, polio, and also cerebral palsy and autism. So by actually being on the horse, the physical movement that the horse makes when it's walking, and yes, there are guides to make sure that they don't fall or topple or anything like that, but what happened was, and this really boomed in the 50s into the 60s, it boomed across the country and in Canada, and how this work that we're doing, which is equine assisted therapy, it doesn't involve riding. That is the one thing that we don't do. It's the horses are loose in the arena or the paddock, and all the exercises are done on the ground. But how it developed was the therapeutic riding is what sort of spurned it forward, because the practitioners that were doing that work noticed huge improvements physically and mentally for the clients, but they also noticed a side effect was that they were improving socially and behaviorally and emotionally. And so there were a few pioneers in the 90s that started to experiment a little bit and say, what happens if we take the riding element out of it and we just let the horses have a free, open ground to express themselves and to basically mirror what is going on in the emotional landscape of the humans. And that's really how this developed. In IGALA, which is the foundation that certifies people to do this work internationally, was one of those pioneers. And they really have developed it a lot since then. And now there's, code of ethics, and there's protocol and ground-based exercises that are used specifically to deal with psychological issues, anything from anxiety, depression, substance